Welcome to Wired to Lead, the podcast where neuroscience meets leadership. Hi, I'm Julia LeFevre, and each week we're going to explore how our brains impact our behavior and how we can rewire our brains so that we can lead with clarity, confidence, and impact. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wired to Lead podcast. I'm really excited to introduce you to Roderick Abernathy. I tried this once before and I mispronounced his name. So this is take 2 in all authenticity, but Roderick, you are a strategic HR executive known for guiding organizations through transformation with people-first strategies, inclusive leadership, and a deep commitment to purpose-driven growth. I want to say welcome and congratulations. You've recently launched a leadership and organizational advisory platform called Abernathy and Associates. So I'm excited to hear more. Welcome to Wired to Lead.
Hey, good morning, Julia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to share more about Abernathy and Associates, as well as talk about any other awesome things that come up today.
Absolutely. Well, let's just start. With what has your leadership journey included? Where did it start? And then we'll work our way to where it is now.
I'm gonna try not to show my age here. Gosh, my leadership journey started in the 90s. I believe I became a store manager for Sunglass Hut International back in the 90s, and they still
Oh,
exist.
yeah.
And I've had the opportunity to um, be led by some really awesome leaders. And I
Mhm.
believe my district manager in that role actually gave me the Who Moved My Cheese book as an
Mhm.
effort to, kind of catapult my leadership um, adventures. I've I've had good leadership experiences, and I've had some that were not so good. I remember I was a department manager at Walmart way back when, and my whole staff turned on me because I was not necessarily the best leader. I think you have to live and you have to learn how to treat people, and I think I take experiences like that, experiences that where my district manager believed in me when he promoted me to that role. And I think all of those things have led me to where I am today and how I lead today. So I look back on that experience where my staff turned on me and literally hated me, and use that to make my leadership better today.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you for being so vulnerable because, a lot of times we look at leaders and we only see their successes. And yet, I haven't talked to a leader who didn't sometimes learn more from the ways they screwed up. And so, if we just dig into that a little bit, I imagine that when you are a new leader and coming into it, I'm curious if you had had training or if there had been much poured into you to set you up for success.
No, I think when you work in certain environments, and especially if you're early on in your career, I think maybe we make the misconception that you're going to pick this up, or maybe you've learned from someone else that I don't necessarily need to. Like, I've looked at your resume, you're fine. You can do this
Yeah.
versus knowing that this person can do this. Um, for me, I guess I took for granted that those individuals did work for me and that their work reflected on me as a leader. And at that time, I was on that, you're going to make me look bad if you don't get this done. And I think that came out in my, in that was verbally communicated. It was communicated in my actions, and that team was not having it. They were like, "You're not going to talk to me like that." So I learned the hard way of how to influence or to how to talk to people. It's like I should have known better. The one of the basic tenements of leadership is treat people the way you want to be treated. So I should have learned then, but I look back on it now and can kind of laugh, and I kind of wish I knew where those people were today, just to, if I could apologize, I probably would.
Yeah, I think we all have those situations. And what you bring up, I think, is so important because, again, so often we focus on the output of our leadership, but so many leaders, we're given maybe even some tools like get these things done, take care of your people, make sure your team does these things. And you're right, it often triggers things in us that are fear, and that's why we start grabbing on to more controlling methods, because there is some truth. It is going to reflect on you. And most of us haven't been taught or haven't developed those core capacities of being okay uh, as separate from what our performance is. And when that happens, then all of a sudden, this leadership thing becomes very self-focused instead of others focused. And it just happens.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think part of that is you don't learn, it takes you a while to in your career to learn that you have to accomplish things through people. It's not I tell you what to do and do it. You have to learn how to, we're going to accomplish this together. It's not a you work for me. And I think if you think about just maybe some of the old movies that you've watched, and it was always the you work for me and you're going to do this the way I tell you to do it. It is so not like that. And I don't know if it was ever like that, but maybe way back when it was like that. But it is definitely more of a, hey, we need to come together to achieve this goal. It does reflect on me, but how do I encourage you to want to do it? How do I get inside your head a little bit to figure out what your motivations are? How can I motivate you to be your best self so that we all shine as part of this? And also as a leader, you learn, if even if you win, it's not about you, the leader that won. We won. You learn how to give away those accolades. It's not just about you. Yeah, you led that, but if those people didn't do those things, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. So
Yeah,
I
you're
think
stuck
I
with
think
a
it's
team that turns against you,
and
and
nobody wins.
nobody wins. Yeah.
Uh,
Part of the purpose for Wired to Lead is to kind of explore what neuroscience is telling us about what wires us for certain things. And some of us have these experiences, and that's what we're learning. It's usually through an experience for a successful thing, a success, a way to really thrive. And all of us are wired for what not to do. And so I'm just curious, you made the comment, maybe leaders feel like you'll just understand it. But what I'm finding is, as I talk to different leaders, is that nobody's doing that. Like nobody trained them, so they don't know to train the next person.
sure.
And so it's in along that same vein of thought, there are things that wire us to need success and to earn our success. So I'm just curious if there were times where, your affirmation came from what you produced.
Excuse me. I think for me, I've seen success in people around me. I've had leaders who believed in my ability to lead, whether they necessarily handed me all the tools to be successful in the role. The fact that they believed in me and that I could do it, I think, is what helps. I do believe that individuals innately have the ability to lead, not everyone, but I think a lot of people have the innate ability to lead, and some may want to pick that up and run with it, and others don't. I enjoy it because I enjoy helping develop individuals. I love when you see the the light bulb turn on when you're teaching someone something new. I've had, in my last two roles, really had the ability to mentor people that are newly coming into HR, or that have done career transitions into HR, and being able to impart my knowledge upon them. And that is exciting, and I love that.
Yeah. And so I'm imagining that even when your whole team turned on you, there was somebody that still said, I see something in you, and that's not going to eliminate you. Like, I'm going to continue to invite you in to this process and we're going to learn. So, did that happen, or how did you continue on the leadership journey after that experience?
Not in that role. I think I left that organization shortly thereafter. But I think it's comes from within, knowing and trusting your skills, trusting your abilities, and knowing, I'd say, just having that inner confidence to despite my team turning on me, which was, like I said, that was kind of traumatic, because I was like, I thought I was doing a great job. I thought I was getting the job done. And while my district manager might have been happy with the work that was being done, if all those people walked out on me, which they were threatening to do, I would not have been successful anyway. But you still have to pick up from that experience and move on. I think that comes from confidence, and some of that comes from having seen other people do it right and wanting to do it right. So I think that's what gives me that drive.
Yeah, it's really helpful to hear that, because at the end of the day, that's the core capacity of a person. We talk about resilience and we talk about getting back up after we have fallen down. And that's part of your wiring. I mean, there were things in your life that failing wasn't the worst thing in the world. It was okay. Well, let's learn from it and move on. And what a great example of, failing hard and
Mhm.
then being able to step into new ways of interacting with your team. And so, what were some of those first things that you did that you wanted to make sure and change about how you interacted with people?
I think when you reflect upon the experience, and I don't think they thought that I was kind in my words. And so I try to be very deliberate about how I speak to my team members or teammates today.
Mhm.
And they didn't, I get the feeling that they didn't like how I directed them. So I'm very cognizant of how I, how I show up, how I give guidance and direction. And I'm trying not to be the do it my way. I do try to be collaborative. But I'm also, I think the most important thing, despite all of that, is I'm open to feedback. I think as a leader, you have to be able to hear the feedback, accept the feedback, and try to figure out a way to improve upon it. And I think that's the most important thing. You have to be open to hearing, and sometimes not kind things. And I think as a cocky, was I 22, 23 at the time, maybe? Oh, you're like, I can run the world," but you don't realize, oh, but I need your help to do that. So
Mhm.
I try to show up in a way that I'm open to and will accept and receive feedback.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that was exactly what I was thinking. That, some of the feedback probably came to you verbally, but it sounds like some of it didn't. And there was a lack of, you know, feedback, but you were attuned enough to read the room, so to speak,
Sure,
and to be open to it. It's like, okay, if this is the case, it's not a coincidence, and I'm not going to get defensive.
sure.
I'm sure there were moments that you wanted to get defensive
Yes.
because we all do. But then once we fight through that and we're able to see there's actually some legitimate issues here. And I want to be the kind of leader who keeps learning and growing.
Yeah, for me, it's like acceptance is kind of the key, right? So you get the
Mhm.
information, you can choose to accept it or not. So you can hear the feedback and you move on. But whether you agree with it or not, you have to accept that the feedback was received and then figure out what you're going to do with it. I think
Mhm.
acceptance of the feedback is the most important piece of that.
Yeah. So I take that you are a learner, and you just recently told me that you went back to school. So tell us a little bit about that. Why is a leader like you going back to learn more?
Yeah, no, great question. So I'd received some feedback in my previous role that I felt like I needed to do more to be more strategic and
Mm,
to improve upon my um, HR strategy skills.
mm,
So I was looking for ways in order to do that, and I felt like the best way to do it was to go back to school. So I was looking at doctoral programs or maybe a second master's degree program,
mhm.
but I felt like the doctoral program was the best route for me. So I'm at Bowling Green State University, or BGSU as we call it, and I'm
Okay.
pursuing a professional doctorate in organizational development and change.
Okay.
And these are very critical, are, these are huge elements of HR. Organizational development is, all the things that make up an organization. So everything that we do in HR should encompass organizational development.
Mm,
And then change is what we go through every day. Every organization is going through change constantly. So I felt like everything that I learned in this program becomes part of my HR toolkit, my executive toolkit. So super excited about it. It is a cohort model. So there's about 21 of us in my cohort, and we really do lean on each other. So my cohort, they're all from different backgrounds. There's my writing partner is a literacy specialist. My one of my dear friends in the program now, she is a instructional designer. So everybody, one of the gentlemen in the program is a superintendent for a school district. So just this wonderful big group of leaders, and I can learn this from you. I can learn this from you. I can learn this. So we're all able to take something from each other and use it. The program really focuses on helping you become thought leaders, and I learned something about passive leadership. So if you're a thought leader and you put something out into the world through a white paper or whatever it is that you post, you're passively providing thought leadership, because you don't know when that person is going to read what you wrote or when they're going to digest it. So you're asleep, and somewhere somebody logged into LinkedIn and they saw something I posted and it made them feel a certain kind of way. I love that. And I had it not been for that program, I'd just be me. But I think being a part of the program now, it helps me be better at being me.
mm. Almost inviting you to step into the world so that the world can experience the gifts that you have to bring.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better.
Hmm. And I imagine that even that process helps refine the learning process. The I mean, I know for me when I started, I mean, even this today that we're recording this, this podcast, Wired to Lead, was launched. And it's kind of like, okay, how is this going to go?
Exactly.
And it refines you, that process of stepping into uncharted territory where you can't control the outcomes.
But the most important thing, despite how hard it is, and so we're in a summer semester now, so it's a year-round program for 3 years, so no summer
Hold
vacations.
on.
Yeah, it is absolutely in like it's just it makes you excited. It almost makes you tearful because of how exciting it is. It's hard, but just what
Mhm.
you're learning, what you're experiencing with your cohort, and they see wonderful things in you, the program does, and so they're encouraging. Our program director is absolutely amazing, and just all the people that came before us. So I'm in cohort 6. So there's been 5 cohorts before mine. Uh, we have mentors in the cohort ahead of us. So I've made some wonderful friends and get some guidance like how do I approach this? You've already been through it. I'm working on such and such project now. How did you approach it? So being able to get some insight from a fellow um, program member.
Learners,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Students, absolutely. Well, you're speaking music to my ears because in my line of work, the number one foundational principle of people transformation is their connections, relational connections. And so I love that the whole program, even though it's an organizational leadership and there's a lot of content, I imagine, but at its core, it's being built on relational connections. And, that's what the neuroscience is telling us, that when you have safe places where you have psychological safety and trust, that the learning, the growing, your brain, your cognitive brain will work more effectively. And it sounds like you're experiencing that.
Absolutely, 1,000%. And I went through my master's program in the early 2000s. So I think I finished my master's in
Mm.
2006, and I don't think we were using words like psychological safety back then, right? Just
No.
surviving. And I can't even tell you when psychological safety started to be actually talked about and to be such a foundation of everything that we kind of build these days. We want there to be psychological safety. It's its relevance into the day to day is just, you don't think about it until it's not there, right? And
Yeah.
you're in an environment where you don't feel comfortable being who you are in your
Mm.
workplace like that. I can't imagine that. So as an HR leader, and when we talk about people first leadership, my connection with employees starts from the very moment that I place a job posting, right? Place a posting, I'm scrolling through resumes, and I've, identified 5 or 10 candidates that I share with the hiring manager. They respond back and say, yes, I want to talk to that person. And when you reach out, you make that connection. It's a wonderful feeling where, you call Bob. Bob is my favorite person. You call Bob and say, hey, Bob, you applied for this role. I'd love to talk to you more about that because I want to learn more about you. It really is about building those relationships, and those people remember you, um, because like you're the first person I interacted with when I came to this company, and
Space.
that's what I want them to remember. I want to be that face of HR that made them feel welcomed. And no matter what experience they have with an organization, HR, we don't control everything, right? We try to put the
Mhm.
right processes and procedures and policies and develop the culture that we want to have. It doesn't always go right. So somebody
Mhm.
might have a bad experience, but they're going to come and talk to you in HR because you're the one that reached out to them. They've got that connection with you. Like, hey, remember when you hired when we talked about we're going to develop this culture? I'm not feeling it over here. Hey, let's talk about that, right? Like, let's figure out what we can do. I maybe not be able to fix it today, but know that I'm here for you, and I want us to have this environment that we talked about where you show up, you learn these things, you do this work, you go home and you felt good about it, right? And it's important to me as an HR person. I want my employees or our employee population to have it, but I want to have it as well.
Sure. So I think, HR sometimes gets a bad rap, right? So as you're talking, I haven't heard very many people talk about HR in the way that I'm hearing you talk about it. And I love the vision. So what do you think gets in the way of organizations trusting the HR departments to be that safe space, to be their support. Yeah, what are the biggest challenges that you see?
I think sometimes that people don't trust HR because maybe they had a bad experience in a different
Mm,
at a different time in their life, um, or they're afraid because you know HR typically reports them to the CEO. They're worried that the HR person is going to violate their
mm,
trust and take it to to executive leadership and share all the information, which is not the case. Um, I think you just have to have the trust that the person that you're talking to is there to help and support you.
mm,
Um, I don't know. That's how I operate. I want people to be comfortable with me. I have a
mm.
job to do at the end of the day, and I always share that.
Sure.
When I'm dealing with employee situations, I am my whole authentic self. I'm talking to them just like I'm talking to you. I want to
Mm,
hear about their challenge, and then maybe at the end of that conversation, I'll say, "Well, now I got to put my HR hat on and tell you,
mhm,
well, I'm going to send you paperwork. We're going to document this conversation, and we're going to do this, this, and this." So you understand
mhm.
I'm a person first. I'm HR as well. So I'm here to protect the organization, but I'm also here to support you. I'm never
Yeah,
going to throw someone under the bus because I'm the HR person, right?
right. You know, and I think some of the things that you're sharing, it really does shine a light on the reality that it's our experience with the person that is going to speak so much more than words that are said
Exactly.
or things that are done. And so when HR leaders and really any leader is committed to cultivating an authentic, you use that word,
Mhm.
connection with the person, and it's a people to people interaction, not an HR to a team member or something like that, that it can really lay a sweet foundation for a trusting, safe interaction, even if there has to be some consequence or something followed that maybe isn't, doesn't feel positive.
Right. And I think if you do it just right, then the person on the other end having accepted what you shared and know
Mhm.
that I let me say it this way. There have been times where you have to do things that are not great. You might have to lay people off. You may have to have disciplinary conversation. But if you've developed the type of relationship with those employees where they know when you're being I'm the fun, I'm engaging, I'm all these things, but when I have to turn on my strategic business hat and we're doing business things, they get it. Like you've built enough rapport. You've deposited into the bank with them, right?
Yeah.
Like you've deposited the goodwill and all of those things. I remember sometimes, when I talk to leaders, they're like, "Well, how do you build that?" Like it's from the very beginning when you, like I said, that first call when you invited them for an interview, you made them the job offer, orientation where you hey, you've got two kids, Bob and Sarah, whatever. Employees appreciate that you know them, you know their family, you know that they had a sick mom, things like that. People share those things with you. And when things happen, they come and they share the heartbreak with you, and you you deposit into that bank because you're
Yeah.
there. You're there to listen. I got to tell you this. So interviewed for a job not too long ago. I it did not go well. I sucked at that. I absolutely sucked at the interview. But you know why? The person that I talked to said, "What do you do all day?" Like, I don't want an HR leader that sits in the corner office and the employees go in and da 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 da. His understanding of HR is why HR people do have a bad name. His impression was that HR, they sit over here, employees just go in there and they I think he thinks a bitch session, pardon the expression, and that's what they do. I'm like, no, employees have true issues. I had an employee in my last role had just a number of things that were going on, family things, very deep things. And she came and she's like, she's trying to decide, do I quit this job to go and take care of my family, or do I take a leave of absence? So obviously I have to share her options with her, right? That's my job. Share the
Yeah.
options, hoping she'll stay. At the end of the day, it was more important to her to go and take care of herself and take care of her family. These are the things that we're working on. I was trying to save a person, right? So
Yeah.
he might, that person may have thought it was a bitch session, but for me, it's like that person needed to talk to me. They're struggling in their job because they're afraid to talk to anybody, right? When
Yeah.
did we don't, I really could not work for a leader that doesn't understand the basics of people first, right? And
Yeah.
if she's struggling to do her job, that's an HR thing, right? What if
Hmm.
her manager's like, well, I'm going to write her up because her performance is off? Wait, hold on. Let's figure out why the performance is off. Oh, she's got these three things going on. Naturally, she's going to be struggling. Let's understand that first
Absolutely.
before we take action.
And I imagine it was such a blessing to her to have a safe place to come in and process. And like I say over and over, when you can connect relationally without worrying about what you're saying, how you're saying it, she could be sad, maybe she could be worried, she could be anxious. And that's all okay because you're seeing the person before the employee.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we do one without the other, like
Right.
you've indicated, but addressing employees is going to become so much more effective when we see them as the humans first.
Absolutely. It's and there are times within that psychological safety you feel so comfortable, like I was fighting back tears. I was talking to her because I'm of a certain age and she's younger. I've lost family members. I've lost both
Mhm.
my parents. She is younger, and this is a first major loss for her. That
Mm.
tugged at my heartstrings because I know what I went through, and I
Yeah.
needed her to understand that I see you, I feel what
Mm.
you're feeling. This is the time to go and take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
This is the time. If you need to take a leave of absence, I told her when my father passed, I did take 12 weeks. I couldn't sleep, right? Like, I mean, the loss was great and I couldn't sleep.
Mhm.
I needed her to hear that, right? Life is
Yeah.
really short, as we all know it. And employees, they need to make the decisions that work best for them. I
Yeah.
wanted to keep her, like offered her a leave. You can take a personal leave, da da da. Um, because I want her to come back in a
Hmm.
better place. And that helps us all, right? She goes back
It
to her
does.
role. Business continues, no love is lost, and we go on our merry way, if you will.
And
Um,
I think what a lot of leaders don't understand is that sacrificing in the short term, whether it's the hour it took to have that conversation, whether it's the time to cover the leave or, and everything in between, that when you build those types of relationships with your teams, uh, the level of even just cognitive efficiency increases. There are studies that say you get better ideas, you get better buy in to
sure.
the organization. And in the long run, it pays off exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I love that story.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, where is life now? What are the biggest challenges that you are facing, in your own leadership journey?
Sure. I think, for me, I think sometimes it is the challenge is that some leaders, when you show too much heart, they don't think you can be strategic as well. So I think
Mhm.
it's overcoming that kind of stigma, if you will. Like if you're spending this kind of time on employee problems, you can't possibly be that strategic HR leader that's going to help us grow the business by 2x or 3x or what have you. That's one. I think two is one of the things I shared on my LinkedIn was in HR. Typically, HR reports into the CEO. hopefully. I mean, that's the best case scenario, because if there are issues that bubble up in the organization, you can take it right up to the top. Sometimes I don't feel that you have a full seat at the table, right? I think, in what's the right word? In principle, because you report into that senior leader, that you're getting the right amount of face time to be able to articulate what the challenges of the business are, so you as an HR person can be that strategic leader. I don't think that always comes to fruition. I think you might have a seat at the table, but they're not sharing the plans, so you may not get 100% of that. So I feel like that minimizes your capabilities. So I think that's a challenge that I've faced, that I want to overcome, because I'm trying to continue to grow in my career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see where, yeah, you have the space to communicate, but sometimes there might be a gap in uh, valuing
Hmm.
what is communicated, and even proactively not really knowing the bigger picture, that maybe
Exactly.
there's a lack of clarity in where are we going. Help me to be strategic by showing me the vision of
Exactly.
what we're being strategic for.
Absolutely.
That
Well
makes
said.
sense.
That perfectly sums up the experience. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to kind of backtrack just a minute. You mentioned the first part of that was that there's this stigma that if you become too people centric, that there's a stigma that you can't then be strategic. And I have seen this and experienced it. I think it's interesting that, we've all heard of soft skills,
Mhm.
and there's kind of a rise in attention. And like you said, we're talking about psychological safety. And yet at the end of the day, there's still this perception that hard skills win. And we've got to keep those front and center. And if you could speak to somebody who's skeptical of the softer side of leadership, and I don't even like that, because honestly, brain research is telling us that the soft skills are actually the power skills. They're the ones that are going to lay the foundation for all of the hard skills to work
Right.
in the long run.
Right.
And, I even think about your original story. This is just coming back to me. You had the hard skills down, but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, because there was a lack of connection,
Mhm.
the team blows up. And so what would be your word of encouragement or plea
Yeah.
to people who are still skeptical of the relational side?
Yeah, I think the right leader is going to see the value in having a people leader that is connected with the people. I think collaboration, I think building the type of organization where people are comfortable stopping the director of HR, the VP of HR, the head of HR, to share a story or share a situation, and know that that person is going to take the time to sit with them, or make sure they have the proper resources to be able to resolve their situation. I don't regret my career path. I'm trying to grow it even,
Yeah.
but I look back on how I lead and trying to be there for the people. So that's the employees and frontline leadership and the executives. You're trying to be it for everyone. I remember, it was many years ago, but I took a vacation, finally went out of the country, and was not easily reachable. I landed back in the United States, and I had so many voicemails from work. We had lost an employee, a young employee, 23 years old,
Oh,
single car crash. It was very sad. So at that time I was responsible for like the Central Illinois and facility in Minnesota. So I landed back in Chicago and got stayed the night, and then I jumped on a plane and went to spend the next several days in that office because there was nothing I could do in that situation but be present. And I think that was the most important thing, that people know that I generally came to the office once a month, but I was there when it was needed. One of
Yeah.
my sales managers lost his father. I hopped on a plane and was there for him. I just think anything that we can do to be there for our employees and our leadership, we can do it. We'll figure out a way to do it. It goes such a long way in developing relationships and building an organization where um, I think people are comfortable, they feel safe. I feel like they're going to thrive better because they have a leadership team that actually believes in them. They support them, um, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. And there's something so powerful about presence. And again, the research is telling us that our number one need is to connect, to belong somewhere, to know that we matter. And most often that is communicated by proximity. And sometimes you can't be physically present, but you can be present like this.
yes,
And the same things happen. And it really is the foundation of leadership. So thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for being present with me today. And I just, the presence that you bring into a room is full of care and kindness. And I wish you all the best in all the things that are coming ahead of you.
thank you so much. I certainly appreciate the opportunity. It's been phenomenal. Thank you, Julia.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.